G'day everyone, I'm Dan and I'm one of the programmers that works on the ProPresenter companion module. This video I want to give a bit of a walkthrough of how you can get up and running pretty fast with companion by using presets. This will take about half an hour to explore all of the presets. Now, Companion lets you do some pretty amazing things. You do this by building buttons and, by the way, triggers and various other things, but let's talk about buttons today. And in creating buttons, there's a bit of stuff to learn, how you can add static text to a button and then dynamic variable text to a button and images, etc. Then you can add a bunch of actions from any modules that you've got, maybe video switches, or in this case, the ProPresenter module, the ProPresenter API module. And you might add multiple actions, you might do release actions, then you'll add feedbacks that update the state of the button depending on the state of various things like ProPresenter and video switches and all sorts of things. So there's a lot to learn here, but today's video is about how you can get up and running really fast. I'll do some future videos on all of those bits and pieces, actions, feedbacks, variables, the whole show. Today's about getting up and running fast by taking advantage of presets. The ProPresenter API module has a whole bunch of presets built in, and we'll go through all of these. It'll take about half an hour. One thing I want to point out, these presets are carefully pre-built and laid out. They kind of look nice with the top bar turned off. So a bit of a tip, if you've got that top bar turned on, they won't look nice. You may consider turning that off so they look nice, or when you bring them in, just be ready to reformat them. Great. So the quickest way to get up and running is to add presets. And we'll talk in future videos about how to set buttons up manually and do so much more. And I do want to say these presets are not everything you can do. So when you've finished exploring these presets, know that there's so much more. But these are a great way to get started. So let's explore them. Starting off with simple trigger, perhaps the most common. Triggering the previous and next slide. Let's demonstrate that, how quick and easy they were to add and what they think they do. What they think it's pretty obvious what they do. If I click next, you go to the next slide. If I click previous, you go to the previous slide. An interesting side note, if you're, I don't advise this, but I have done this a few times in the past, and that is that these buttons do not need ProPresenter to be the frontmost, or what we call the focused application, to work. ProPresenter could be minimized in the background. You can open up your web browser and be checking some horrible late email that someone sent you while reaching down on your Stream Deck with the other hand, which I'm doing now, and clicking next and keeping up with a song. So I could go to another web page and search for something, and notice I'm clicking next with one hand on the Stream Deck on list, and I can kind of multitask. I can't really do it well, but it is possible. Okay. So that's the most simple actions. Maybe that's enough for some people, but there is more. Next, I probably want to show you the group presets, the song group presets. And these are, by the way, these are dynamically added, these presets. These are not hard-coded in the module. The module will, when you first connect, look at your ProPresenter config, look at the groups that you have defined, what colors they are, what they're called, and it will dynamically add a preset to trigger each one of those. So these are the names and colors of my groups, and they will be the names and colors of your groups. So I might demonstrate verse 1, verse 2, chorus. I'm not sure whether I use chorus. Some of my songs have chorus and chorus 1. That's why I have those in my groups. Bridge and bridge 1, and maybe even bridge 2. Now, as you can see, I can control this song with the simple next and previous buttons, but I can also jump around to chorus 1, or to the bridge, or to verse 2, or back to verse 1, and still move around one slide at a time. So now you've got complete control over over a presentation. So that's a good way to get started, and that might be enough for some, but there's more. Next, I want to introduce some presets that introduce a new concept in Companion, and that's the idea of feedback. So none of these buttons I've showed you so far update or give you any feedback or changes of state. So the next set of buttons I want to show you do that. A good example of that is the clear buttons. So if I add a few of these clear buttons, I'll just add this clear group, and I'll add clear messages. I'm going to skip over audio, add clear props. You might add them all, by the way, and maybe clear slide layer, clear media layer, and maybe clear video inputs. But I wouldn't advise putting clear buttons right next to your previous and next in case you bump them. Anyway, these are what I not only do what they say on the can, right? I think it's pretty obvious what they do. The clear media will clear a media layer, which if I'm looking at an obvious output, I can make that obvious when I clear the media. I'm still left with the slide. If I clear the slide layer, now the slide layer is cleared. And they're dynamic. If I do it from ProPresenter's end, just clear the slide, you see that it goes off. So this feedback shows you what's happening in addition to controlling ProPresenter. If I clear all layers, then all layers are clear. Some more presets that do feedback, which I think is quite useful, is looks. So I've got, and that, again, these presets are dynamic. So the module has looked at my configuration, has seen that I have 4 different looks defined over here: singing, message, Bible, and live, and it's offered me a preset for each one. And if I drag and drop them, I've now got buttons that will trigger those looks and have live feedback that tell me which look is live. So if I and triggering those on the Stream Deck, I can instantly change the look, and I know which look is live. And I love being able to glance and see which look is live. You know, if the message look is live in the middle of singing and it's wrong, at a glance I can just look down and tap it and fix it. So I kind of like that one. Okay, and now same kind of concept. There's one preset for every prop that you have defined. Notice some of these names are the props. They're hard to tell which one's which because my props have long names. So a bit of a tip, you'll probably want to reword some of these longer named items on your buttons so they make sense on your button, because no stream video makes sense, but the word no by itself, not very good. Maybe NSV, for example. Bad example, but anyway. So what do props do? They turn on props and they give you live feedback for which prop is on. So as you can see, that first prop called countdown 1 is live, and if I toggle it, it toggles on and off. I can bring that prop on and take that prop off. Alright, another couple of examples of buttons that I think are nice and give nice feedback. There's the screens button, give you control over the output screens, both the audience and the stage display screens. I think you know what these are going to do. As you can see, my audience screen is off, my stage screen is off, but I can turn them on and see the status of them from ProPresenter. And if they're turned off or on directly by the operator, you can see that status being reflected live. Okay, and the last example of some button that does give some nice feedback when things happen is the start capture toggle. So when I hit that, it starts and it turns green and offers me to stop, and I can see a countdown for how long it's been running, and I can stop it from the same toggle button. And again, that feedback is two-way. If I control it from ProPresenter, then you'll see that status reflected live on the button. So in this time now, we're starting to build, it's pretty messy, but we've gotten a long way. Let's go to a blank page. I might make a new page where we can demonstrate some more presets. Great, the next set of presets I want to introduce a new concept. So we've had some simple presets that just do actions like next and previous and trigger groups. We've seen a whole bunch of other buttons that do actions and also give live feedback of things that are happening, what layers are live, what look is live, what props are on, what screens or what's happening with the capture. Now we're going to take it another step further and demonstrate buttons that demonstrate the idea of variables. So kind of live text that can be added to buttons. An obvious use for that is timers. Again, presets are dynamically defined for your setup. I've got a pretty complex set of timers. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got many, too many to count. in a live demo. Each one of those timers will get 6 presets, and to help differentiate, the name of the timer is underneath, and then the second timer is a slightly different shade of green, and to the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth. So you can kind of see that's my first timer message, my second timer worship. So let's just demonstrate these 6 buttons, which are the same for all the other timers, just for this first timer called message. Let's bring all of those out. Nice and easy. Nice icons, nice text in the form of variables with live update. We'll see that in a moment. Okay, so what do the timer variables do? Well, this is the message timer. As you can see, it's currently running and it's got a pause button, so I could click that button to pause it, and I can see a live text showing me the time value. I can actually see on the Stream Deck where that time is up to, 8:51, 8:50, and of course you can imagine this is the toggle button where I can pause the timer and it stops, and restart the timer. In addition to pausing and starting, I can add time to it. Add 1 minute, click that a few times and suddenly I'm up to 15, or subtract some time. And these buttons are all customizable, right? These are just presets to get you started. If you prefer to add 2 minutes at a time, you might change the text on that button to 2 and the number of seconds that it actually increments by to 120. And that's it. Now I've got a +2 minute timer button. These other 3 buttons reset the timer. So this turns it into a countdown timer and runs it for 30 minutes. So if I click that, I now have a 30-minute countdown timer running. And maybe if you like our service, you might utilize several different countdown timers. You might copy that a few times and have one for those segments that are 20 minutes long, and set the button text to 20 and set the duration to 20. And you might have one that's a segment that's 10 minutes long and set the duration to 10, and a segment that's 5 minutes long and set the duration to 5. And now, if you've got a setup like me, whenever it's time to run a 20-minute timer, just one touch, you've got a 20-minute countdown. One touch, you've got a 10-minute. One touch, you've got a 5-minute. And maybe you can even adjust that down a little bit and make that a 3-minute. And similarly, that's the countdown. This one is a countdown to a time, so the default preset is counting down to 9 AM. And this one is an elapsed timer, counting from 0 and just counting however long it runs. Great. That's the timers. Now let's look at another set of presets for the presentation. And there are not many here, but they're a little bit interesting. Let's put them here and see what they do. By the way, you can hover your mouse on each one of these presets and get some tooltip about its name. So this is Focus Previous Presentation. This is Focus Next Presentation. And this one is Trigger the Focus Presentation. And let's see what that does. Focus presentation, by the way, when looking at this playlist on the left here, is any presentation that you click on, and is highlighted. So if I click on sample presentation, it's now focused. If I click on game, it's now focused. If I click on good grace, it's now focused. Notice it's not changing the output. The output is still Waymaker, the second slide of Waymaker, but I can focus around on other presentations. And with that said, let's demonstrate moving the focus to the previous presentation, to the next presentation, and then triggering whatever's currently focused. And note that the button has the name of the currently focused button, of the currently focused presentation. It doesn't fit on the button, but at least you get an idea, right? So nothing else is focused. There's nothing. If I hit that, it's now triggered. And I can move up to Namey Name or Waymaker or another in the fire and trigger another in the fire. And again, as I'm moving up and down, I see which one is focused that I might be about to trigger. Okay, we're getting there. Let's look at the transport layer presets. And probably you really will only care about this second one, but these might come in handy, the first few. Let's see what they do. So transport layer is this control here. If I'm playing a video, some media on the presentation layer, you've got this thing called transport control. You can pause the currently playing video, or you can play it. It might make more sense rather than with background, but with an actual video. So I'll play this best dads ever video, and you can see it's playing. You can see how long it is. I can hit pause. Well, these transport control buttons, this is play, pause, and this is a toggle, play and pause. And the toggle one has the name of the currently active video media. So best dads ever is the title of this video, and the first part of best dads ever fits on the button. So if I hit that, I'm playing, and I can see the countdown timer. It's got 3 minutes left, nearly. Now 2 minutes 59. I can pause that anytime I want, or play that anytime I want, or pause it. So this one's a toggle, whereas these ones are just a blind play or a blind pause. Then you can also control your stage layouts. I might almost, do I need another button? No, let's put them on this screen. I'll just add a few of these. Like timers, if you've got multiple stage screens with multiple stage layouts, this will be quite busy. There'll be a set of buttons for every layout and for every screen. So in my case, I've got one screen with 5 layouts. If I had 2 screens, there'd be a whole second set of 5 layouts for the second screen, and so on and so on. So let's see what that does. So if I go back to my stage screen and just get something interesting up and have a look at my stage layout. So I've got one stage screen whose current layout is current plus next, and you can see it's current plus next, and I can change it to this multi-track layout and see that it's now changed to multi-track. Or maybe this blank 1-1, and just a dummy thing I was playing with, or back to that. Again, they're live, and it's clear which layout is live, and that feedback can be quite handy, especially if there's a couple of layouts you swap between regularly, and maybe if you forget to do those nice drag and drop actions to automatically change it, you might be able to glance down, see the layout that you need, and just tap on your Stream Deck. Okay, now we're getting close, stage messages. I've only got 2 very simple presets to find for a message called OK. The first one just sends that message onto the stage screen and leaves it there until you click it again, then it hides it. The second one with this little clock in the corner is a timed message. It will show it for 5 seconds and then automatically hide it. The nice thing about the automatic timed one is you don't have to, it's great for messages you just want to show. I think, for example, if you want to tell somebody on the stage, yeah, everything's okay, you can click that and forget about it, right? And then get back onto what you're doing, right? You're doing other things and know that it'll disappear automatically after 5 seconds. And maybe you want to display a message and leave it on. That's what this other preset's for. That just toggles the message on, and it stays on until you tap that button again to take the stage message away. And obviously you'll be able to customize that message to say whatever you want. And you might update the text on the button so it's clear what the button does. Okay, we are getting close to nearly explored all the presets. Only 3 more groups to go. Let's look at another blank page. Oh, let's make another blank page. Excellent. And the last set of presets is that we haven't explored yet. It's macros, and I think it's obvious what they do. There is one button to trigger a macro, one for each of the macros you have defined. Even if your macros are in folders, whether they're in, I've only got 2 folders, default collection and a folder called all of these will just appear in one flat list at the moment. And so it'll be macro and then the name of the macro. And if you add those buttons, you can click any one of those buttons to trigger said macro, changing lights and doing all sorts of bits and pieces, whatever you've got macros set up to do. And you might change the colors or change that default text on the button to be something a little more useful. Maybe you want to say CLR stream, for example, whatever you want. And so this clear stream macro, for example, if I tap that, it triggers that. So macro buttons, one for each macro, just triggers it. video inputs for you guys who want to use your setup as a video switcher. In my setup, for every video input that you have, there'll be a preset automatically built. I have 3 video inputs to find. Only one of them is really working. The other 2 don't have any real hardware, but at least you'll be able to see at least one of them working when I tap on it. And of course, if I need to be on the output screen to see that. And that's not a toggle, that's just a turn on. So once it's on, it's on. There's no support in the API to know which video input's on, so we can't give you a toggle function and we can't show you whether it's live. I'm waiting for those feature requests to come in. But what you can do, of course, is know that you've got your clear video layer in your clear actions. And last but not least, this very humble little button under Miscellaneous, Find Mouse. This one's almost worth buying a separate little mini Stream Deck for. If you have multiple physical displays, 3, 4 displays, physical displays with outputs for stage displays, and you're losing your mouse, and if you've got a little Stream Deck mini with this button on it, you can lose your mouse anywhere and just tap this button and your mouse will be instantly dragged to the center of the ProPresenter UI. I'll click that now, and suddenly my mouse is in the center. Well, it's actually the center of the screen that ProPresenter is running on, right? So, and it'll bring ProPresenter to the front too. So even if you've got another app in front of it, I believe it brings it to the front. Yeah, it does too. Yeah, it's a nice little button. I almost feel like buying a separate little Stream Deck just with this one. I think the small Stream Decks you get is like 6 buttons, but maybe this would be a great little kind of separate button to have that's always visible. It's nice. So that's it. That's we've explored all of the presets. In future videos, I'll talk about we might explore how these buttons are built, how you can customize them, and build even more powerful actions than just what's available in the presets. Cheers.